Hello. On behalf of everybody here at Easter Seals, Florida, welcome. This is Section 2 of the New Hire Orientation Employment Policies Manual. The material in this module is meant to provide you only with a general overview of the current employment policies of Easter Seals, Florida. Please be sure to consult your copy of the Easter Seals, Florida Employment Policies Manual for more detailed information. So let's start by talking about some general policies that we all must abide by. Your employment with Easter Seals, Florida is considered employment at will. What this means to you is that your employment is not for a specified period of time and that either you or Easter Seals can terminate the relationship with or without reason or prior notice. Your employment is not considered a contractual relationship. All aspects of employment are governed on the basis of merit, competence, and qualifications. Easter Seals, Florida maintains a policy of equal opportunity for all employees without influence of age, race, color, national origin, ancestry, religion, gender, sexual orientation, disability, marital status, or veteran status. Easter Seals is committed to complying with the ADA requirements, and we encourage all employees to help us achieve this objective. We will consider reasonable accommodation requests for qualified individuals with disabilities. These requests must be submitted to the Human Resources Department via your supervisor. You will receive written notice on the final determination of your request directly from Human Resources. Easter Seals, Florida has a complaint resolution process which allows employees the opportunity to work through areas of disagreement in their working relationships. You may seek resolution assistance regarding employee conflict issues, complaints, or corporate compliance issues such as fraud or financial irregularity. We do expect that all employees will interact fairly and honestly with one another to ensure that the work environment is free of intimidation and harassment. Employees are encouraged to report harassment following the complaint resolution policy. Sexual harassment is a form of illegal sex discrimination and does not characterize the professional behavior that Easter Seals, Florida expects of its employees, clients, and volunteers. Therefore, we are committed to providing a workplace free from sexual harassment. Sexual harassment may include, but is not limited to, unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or verbal or physical harassment of a sexual nature. This type of misconduct undermines employee morale and interferes with workplace efficiency and productivity. If you feel that you are being subjected to sexual harassment on the job, you should immediately contact your supervisor, the Vice President of Human Resources, or the President, CEO. Easter Seals is committed to providing a safe and healthy workplace for all employees. Violence or threats of violence are unacceptable. Workplace violence includes, but is not limited to, physical attacks, intimidation, threats, or property damage. It is the responsibility of all employees to comply with this policy and report any violations or suspected violations using the complaint grievance resolution policy. Additionally, in keeping with workplace violence, possessions of weapons or use of dangerous weapons is prohibited on property to the extent permitted under Florida law. Absenteeism and tardiness can cause a loss of efficiency, place undue burden on your fellow employees. You must notify your supervisor directly of lateness or absence. Please be sure to schedule your appointments outside working hours if possible. Easter Seals, Florida considers excessive absence when employee absences exceed 8 days in any 12-month period, this does not include vacation time, or 3 days in any 3-month period prior to the most recent absence. Excessive tardiness is when the employee is late more than 3 times within any 30-day period. Being absent for 2 consecutive workdays without notice is considered to be a voluntary resignation without notice. All staff are expected to present a professional, business-like image. Your dress, grooming, personal hygiene, body aroma, and covering should be appropriate to your work situation, as well as to any local dress code requirements. Staff who work in program areas are required to wear closed-toe, closed-heel, non-skid shoes. And again, the requirements vary by program, so please be sure to speak to your supervisor for specifics. Easter Seals Florida complies with the Florida Clean Air Act of 1985, protecting people from the hazards of secondhand tobacco smoke by providing a smoke-free, safe, and healthy environment. Tobacco use of both smoked and chewed tobacco products is not permitted within the facilities, on company property, or in any company vehicle at any time. If you are a full-time employee, you must notify the president of any outside employment or self-employment. It is expected that the outside employment will not be a conflict of interest and will not interfere with your ability to perform your duties or your regular working hours for Easter Seals Florida. In order to avoid any type of conflict of interest, you must have prior approval from the president before you engage in any paid activity in any field related to your position. This includes, but is not limited to, consultations, speeches, or conference participation. Additionally, you may not represent yourself as a spokesperson for Easter Seals without prior approval from the president. All employees of Easter Seals are subject to the background screenings in order to protect the organization and the clients we serve. These screenings are conducted prior to you beginning employment with Easter Seals and are carried out through a variety of local, state, and federal law enforcement and other agencies. Easter Seals strives to ensure that the workplace is free from abusers of alcohol and illegal drugs, including the illegal use of legal drugs. We are a drug-free workplace, and we conduct drug tests for pre-employment, post-accident, reasonable suspicion, and routine fitness for duty, as well as return to work follow-up. Failure of employees to comply with the drug-free workplace policy will result in termination. Easter Seals does allow employment of relatives as long as the disclosure is made to the hiring supervisor prior to employment that the applicant is fully qualified for the position. Family members cannot directly supervise another family member, and family members must be treated the same as any other employee. Family members include relatives by birth, adoption, marriage, and also includes those who are engaged or sharing the same household. During the course of your employment with Easter Seals, you will have access to highly sensitive and confidential information through conversation, company records, correspondence, or in some other fashion. You are considered in a position of trust and have an obligation to the organization, clients, and contributors to ensure that the confidentiality of this information is strictly maintained and protected. You may not disclose, duplicate, or use this information except as required in the performance of your duties. We are proud of our long tradition of ethical and responsible conduct. Each employee is expected to adhere to this high standard of conduct when acting on the behalf of the organization. You will be provided with a copy of the Code of Professional Conduct and the Corporate Compliance Policy Manual. Easter Seals discourages you from using a cell phone while driving a motor vehicle. You are prohibited from using a personal cell phone while directly serving clients, and your cell phone must be turned off while you're working in the program areas. You are expected to notify your supervisor immediately if you are involved in a job-related accident, if you are injured on the job, or if you observe others injured on the job. You must complete and submit an incident report to your supervisor within 8 hours. We will make arrangements immediately for appropriate medical care and for the drug test. Now moving on to employment statuses and performance review. All new staff, such as yourself, are considered to be in an introductory period for 90 calendar days after date of hire. This period will allow you and your supervisor to become acquainted with each other, and the supervisor will assess your work quality, quantity, attendance, and punctuality. If it is determined that you're not suited for the position, you may be released from employment. If you receive a change of status at any time during your employment, you will be subject to a transitional period of 90 days. Changes in status can be advancement to a higher ranked position, a move from one department or office to another, a reduction to a lower ranked position, or a move to a similar position with similar requirements and responsibilities. During your first 90 days of employment or transitional period, your supervisor will carefully monitor your performance. A written evaluation will be made at the end of the introductory or transitional period, assessing your performance during that time. During the introductory period, if it is determined that you're not suited for the position, you may be released. During the transitional period, if it's determined that you're not suited for the position, when possible, we will attempt to place you in a suitable position. Your supervisor will conduct at least one written performance review on you annually unless there is a position change. Now let's take a look at our employee categories and classifications. Full-time employees are those who work a minimum of 30 hours per week. Part-time employees work less than 30 hours per week on a regular basis. As-needed employees work less than 30 hours per week on a variable schedule or as needed. Seasonal employees work only during a specified period, and these are typically our summer camp staff. And then school year employees work a minimum of 30 hours per week, but only during the school year term. Exempt employees do not receive overtime pay, and the salaries are calculated on a weekly basis. Non-exempt employees may receive overtime pay, but working overtime does require advance approval. Non-exempt employees' salaries are calculated on an hourly basis. Now, let's take a look at an enormous area of concern for compliance for the organization, which is information technology. Access to the Internet is for business purposes only and is a privilege. Internet resources are to be used in an effective, ethical, and lawful manner. Instant messaging, streaming radio, personal video, and personal video chatting is prohibited. You need to make sure that you keep your passwords secure and do not disclose them to anybody. These are very sensitive and confidential, as these have access to confidential areas. You need to report to the Director of IT if you feel that your passwords have been compromised. Messages composed or sent or received on the Easter Seals email system are property of Easter Seals, Florida, and therefore not confidential. The email system is reserved for conducting Easter Seals, Florida business. Please remember that your emails are subject to subpoenas from outside the organization and the Florida Sunshine Law. The email system may not be used for soliciting commercial ventures, political causes, outside organizations, non-job related solicitations, offensive or disruptive messages, or for sending or receiving copyrighted material, trade secrets, or proprietary information. You are encouraged to champion on behalf of Easter Seals, Florida, and to use the internet to blog or talk about the organization, services, and your work. Our goals are to connect with and provide hope and help to children and adults with disabilities and the families who love them, convey information about Easter Seals, Florida programs and services, promote and raise awareness of the Easter Seals, Florida brand, encourage support of Easter Seals, Florida services and programs, and to share expertise of the Easter Seals, Florida staff and volunteers. However, you should have no expectation of privacy while using the internet, and your postings can be reviewed by anyone. Please be sure to follow all rules and guidelines when it comes to social networking. Okay, now we move on to what could be the most important sections to you, which cover compensation, deductions, and benefits. The work week begins at 12:01 a.m. on Monday and ends at 12 o'clock midnight on Sunday. The standard work week is 37 and a half hours. However, your hours may vary depending on the position for which you were hired. All variations in your schedule do require advance approval. Easter Seals Florida uses an electronic timekeeping system to track hours worked and requests for time off. Depending on your position, you may either punch in and out using a swipe card, punch in and out via the internet, or enter your time via the internet. You are expected to keep accurate time records, review them for accuracy, and submit them by marking approval at the end of the pay period. Overtime hours must be approved in advance by your supervisor. Easter Seals Florida may periodically schedule mandatory overtime to meet business needs. Overtime is paid to non-exempt staff for hours worked in excess of 40 hours in 1 week. This does not include time accruals and holiday time. Overtime pay is paid at 1.5 times your regular rate of pay. And exempt employees do not receive overtime. If you are an exempt employee and you are required to work a weekend or a holiday, you will earn compensatory time for those occasions. However, you do have to have approval in advance to work those weekends or holidays. Paydays are bi-weekly on the Friday following the end of the pay period. We do require direct deposit to a checking account, savings account, or a pay card for payment of your biweekly earnings. However, if you do not want to sign up for direct deposit, you will be required to sign a waiver. Your check will then be mailed to your home from the Easter Seals Florida headquarters office on payday. It is important for you to keep the HR department informed of account changes or address information so that we can make sure that your check and payment reaches you. Depending on your position in the organization, after completion of your introductory period, you may be eligible to request a modified work week. All requests must be submitted and approved by your direct supervisor and the president. Options for non-exempt employees are to either work at home 1 day during the week or to work the regular weekly hours in 4 days instead of 5. Exempt employees may be eligible to work at home 1 day during the week. Please keep in mind, though, the modified work week schedule may change due to programming needs and holidays. The decision to close the office during periods of emergency or inclement weather is at the discretion of the president or president's designee. If the office is open, employees not returning to work must use accrued vacation leave. If the office is closed, full-time and school years employees will be paid for the regular hours on the date of the emergency only. Part-time and as-needed employees will be paid for actual hours worked. The law requires us to make certain deductions from every employee's paycheck, such as federal, state, and local income taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and some garnishments. You may voluntarily authorize deductions from your paychecks to cover the cost of participation in programs such as the group health and dental plans, flex plan contributions or the Section 125 plan, tax deferred annuity contributions, which is our 403B plan, contributions to Easter Seals Florida, Easter Seals Florida service fee deductions, and any uniforms or shirts that you purchase through Easter Seals Florida. Now on to benefits. Depending on your status, whether it's full-time or school year, you may be eligible for paid time off, which may include vacation, holidays, personal days, sick leave, and sick leave donation, bereavement pay, and jury duty pay. During the course of the employment, and also subject to certain eligibility criteria, you may be able to take time off for a leave for qualifying events under the Family and Medical Leave Act, a non-Family and Medical Leave Act medical leave of absence, a non-medical leave without pay, domestic violence and sexual assault leave, or military leave. If you are a full-time or school year employee, Easter Seals pays a major portion of the premium for the medical insurance and currently a small portion of the dependent coverage. Dental and AFLAC coverages are also available, however these premiums must be 100% paid by you. Easter Seals Florida pays 100% of the basic life, accidental death, and dismemberment, and long-term disability. If your employment status with Easter Seals Florida changes due to a reduction in hours or employment separation, COBRA allows you to continue at your own cost on the Easter Seals Florida health and/or dental insurance plans. Your covered dependents also may have a right to elect COBRA coverage. Full-time employees and school year employees are also eligible for the Section 125 cafeteria plan. There are two types of benefits under this plan. The premium conversion, which allows you to pay for premiums for health, dental, or other insurance benefits on a pre-tax basis, and flexible spending accounts, which allow you to deduct from your check on a pre-tax basis money to pay for out-of-pocket medical costs or dependent care expenses. Easter Seals Florida does carry workers' compensation insurance to compensate you if you have an injury while performing your duties. You are also covered under the unemployment compensation law. To show our appreciation of the employees and what they do for the organization, we have set up the Rhoda and Burt Ventura Employee Appreciation Fund. This fund is funded throughout the year to promote outstanding service to coworkers and clients. The three different types of awards given through this program are the Mission Achievement Award, the Mission Leadership Award, and Pocket Praises, and we give out monthly awards for each of those. There are also various yearly celebrations within our programs. Now on to one of our newest programs through Easter Seals Florida, Easter Seals University. In order to help you further your education or career at Easter Seals Florida, we have established Easter Seals University. All training courses and links can be found in the corporate library or through your desktop icon or in the Lily. You may take courses through ESU via on-site training sessions, webinars, or viewing pre-recorded on-demand trainings at your convenience. Courses may be taken at your request or assigned by your supervisor and may be considered optional, recommended, required, or statutory. Unfortunately, there may come a time when you and Easter Seals may have to part ways. In this section, we will review the different types of separation that may occur during your employment. Voluntary separations are resignation or retirement. If you are an exempt employee, you are required to give 20 working days written notice. If you are a non-exempt employee, you are required to give 10 working days written notice. You must give and work the entire notice period to be eligible for compensation of any unused vacation accruals. Involuntary separations are reduction in force or job elimination, unsatisfactory work performance, arrest, misconduct or gross misconduct on the job, and death. All requests for employment verifications or references must be forwarded to the Human Resources Department. You must give Easter Seals Florida authorization in order to release the information for employment verifications or references. Your supervisor may be able to write a letter of reference on your behalf, which is based on your evaluation and other data in your personnel file. Personnel records are the property of Easter Seals, Florida, and kept strictly confidential. You may make a written request to HR to view your personnel file in the Human Resources Department or to receive copies of training certificates, performance evaluation, and corrective actions. If you need more information about Easter Seals, Florida policies, please consult your copy of the Employment Policies Manual, contact your supervisor, or contact the Human Resources Department. Once you have finished viewing this presentation, please see your supervisor to obtain a completion certificate for this training module. Thank you.